novusagenda.com.
Monday maybe, Sunday, Monday?
Okay, it is Wednesday, July 5th. This is a regular city council meeting, Arlington City Council. My name is Rich Nagel, I'm the mayor, and I'll be presiding at this meeting. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one
nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, we'll have roll call. Councilmember Cowell. Here. Councilmember Highland. Yes. Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead. Yep. Councilmember Batcher.
Here.
Okay, just for the record, Councilmember Batcher is on FaceTime attending the meeting this evening. She is located at 11054 Resort Road in Nisswa, Minnesota, and we can see her, we can hear her very well, and hopefully she can hear us very well.
Yep.
All right, also in attendance on my left is City Administrator Donabauer. On my right, City Attorney Arneson, Kirk Mink representing the Arlington Enterprise, and Laura Alphabach, our interim City Administrator in waiting. Would that be a title? We have an agreement with her, and we'll talk about that a little later, to fill in during the time we're looking for a permanent City Administrator. So welcome everyone, and at this time we'll move to item number 3, approve the agenda. Any agenda additions?
I do have 2 adds and 1 modification, so I'd like to add under the annual update, item 8B, authorize and deny repair of radiator valve shaft seal from Jordan Transformer LLC at $4181. Then modify resolution 59-2017 from authorize/deny employment contract with, modify that to authorize, deny appointing an interim city administrator. And then adding item 11J, resolution 66-2017, authorize, deny city to solicit funds for annual Arlington Night Out event.
Okay, everyone hear those changes?
Yep.
Any other changes at this time? If not, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Yashewski to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is carried. All right, move on then to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening consists of the following items. Item A, approval of the June 14th Public Forum Summary on Community Policing in Arlington. Item B, approval of the June 19th regular meeting minutes. Item C, approval of the June 19th special workshop meeting minutes. Item D, approval of the June 26th special council meeting minutes. Item E, approval of the bills. Item F, approval of the emergency operations plan for 2017 and 2018. Item G, approve 2 1 to 4 day temporary on-sale liquor licenses for the Sibley County Agricultural Association County Fair, August 2nd through the 4th, and August 5th, 2nd and 4th, August 5th and 6th. Item H, approve temporary on-sale liquor license 1 to 4 days for Sibley County Agricultural Association bull riding fundraiser, September 8th through the 10th. And lastly, item I, accept resignation of Ben Nelson as Arlington Community Center attendant. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Second motion.
Okay, motion by Hattlestead, second by Councilmember Cowell to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion's carried. There are no public hearings this evening. We'll move right into addressing the council. Kurt, do you wish to address the council tonight? You don't, all right. There are no citizens present to address the council. Then we'll move on to item 6, announcements.
After a week break due to the holiday, we look forward to the Arlington Farmers Market continuing through September 25th, 4 to 6:30 right here at the Arlington Community Center. MMPA annual meeting and dinner will be held July 25th at the Shakopee Energy Park in Canterbury Park. So if there are any council members interested in attending, please let staff know, just so we can properly notify potential, oh my goodness, I'm already
You got
blanking.
yourself into one.
Just so that we can put out proper notification if there is a quorum. We also have our Arlington Night Out, August 1st, 5 to 7:30 p.m. at the Four Seasons Park. I know that Heidi Jo Fisher is working on collecting funds on that, but we also have a business item coming up later on that will further expand opportunities for that event. The 2018 budget workshop is preliminarily set for August 7th, 5 o'clock right here in the council chambers, and then deadline to register for the 2017-2018 Leading Sibley Together Leadership Curriculum is August 4th. So any council member interested in that, please let staff know.
Okay, any questions on the announcements? Hearing none, we'll move on to communications.
In your packet, you do have a copy of the May water wastewater report submitted by People Service Operator Lee Ortloff, copy of the City Administrator's project list. The results from MnDOT speed zone study on Trunk Highway 5 is also included in your packet. Essentially, the speed zone, the 45-mile-an-hour speed zone would be reduced to 40, and then the 60-mile-an-hour speed zone sign will be moved approximately 100 feet east of Marion Drive. You also have notification regarding Arlington's portion of the Small Cities Assistant Program funding for construction and maintenance of roads, $19,376. That will be placed into the capital improvement budget in order to offset the cost of seal coating. And then Abdo Eichenmeyers, the city's auditor, is introducing a new occupational fraud service. So if that's something this council is interested in, please let staff know.
Okay, any questions regarding the communications?
How close did on item number C, the MnDOT speed zone study, how close did that come to what we're looking for?
I mean,
I think we were looking for a reduction to, what, 30 miles an hour beyond the curve, or was it
Correct.
45? 30, I think
30.
it was. I mean, we went for the ultimate, but
So they reduced it to 40. Oh,
not quite to the curve. So no, it doesn't quite meet what our hopes were, but as designated in the resolution, we had to be prepared to accept their final results. So
We got an improvement.
we got an
we got an
improvement.
improvement. Yeah. Any other questions regarding communications? Councilmember Batcher, anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Then we're going to move on to item number 8, annual update, electrical engineer. We have with us tonight Kurt Cord and Sarah Peterson from Minnesota Valley Electric Co-op. And the floor is yours.
Oh, no, you got it.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Yes, before we kind of go into the annual update, the thing that's on the agenda that we just want to talk about is approval of the B&B transformer order. We went out for bids or quotes, and B&B Transformer, who's supplied some transformers for us in the past, came in at $36,570 for purchase of, I believe there's 6 transformers, which is a pretty good price. Those are reconditioned, remanufactured units, which come with the standard warranties and stuff like that. And what we're doing with this is 2 of these are already spoken for, going out towards the urea facility and then out towards Simstone. Those were kind of sized for this, and the other ones are going back in stock to help support our fleet in the event of a failure. So I guess we need an action on that this evening. The other, I don't know how you guys want to do that, if you want to act on that first, or if you want to.
I believe it's in the agenda for later.
It's just as included as part of their annual update.
Oh, okay,
Here and page.
all right. We can, I guess we could act on it right now if council feels appropriate. It is on the agenda right now, so,
And just for information, $86,000 was budgeted in 2017 for annual transformer changeouts and pole testing. In 2016, just for an item of comparison, $50,000 was budgeted for transformer and pole testing, and less than 50% of that was expended for those purposes. So this is a budgeted item.
Were there any other bids or any other quotes taken other than from B&B?
Yes, there was, I think we received pricing from at least 6 others.
Okay.
Or, I sent it out to 6 total, of which we got 3 back, and the other 3 had a no bid on, or failed to meet the bid time. We were looking for like a 6-week delivery to meet our requirements for the new services in town, so that's where they chose not to bid because of that.
Thank you.
So B&B transformer was the lowest bid of the 3 that came in?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 6 pair pad-mounted transformers from B&B Transformer for $36,570.
Second.
okay, motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Highland to approve the purchase of 6 pad-mounted transformers from B&B Transformer at a cost of $36,570. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
All right, I guess just kinda where I was thinking of going with this is Sarah did an inspection over the last couple months. We've been watching something that we need to bring to your guys' attention. Our substation transformer has a leak in it, not in it. It's leaking one of the packing bushings on the side. I don't know, Liza, if you sent these guys pictures.
I did, it was part of their packet just sent today.
Okay, what it amounts to is we have to take the load off the transformer to tighten down these bushings, and in worst case, maybe even take them off and repack them and then reseal them. This is probably about with bringing the McLeod in and stuff, we're staring at about, right now the price to do it came from Jordan Transformer, about $5,000. So we're probably staring at, by the time we get done switching things around, we could be having about a $10,000 maintenance schedule here. So I'm just bringing that to you guys' attention. I'm thinking our goal would be to do it in the fall, so it's less, the load is down in the city. That way, and plus we can kind of work with we're not dealing with trying to interrupt everybody's air conditioner on a day like today. So what will probably have to happen there is we'll get a hold of the city prior to scheduling it and try to set up the best time for everyone involved. What it would amount to is we'd move all the load back to the old transformer downtown, and it would involve everything went perfect, probably a 15-minute blink. We'd put all the load onto that tub. Then once we do the repairs, probably the following day, it would blink again, going back to a normal state. Event we ran into problems, it could be over there for a long period of time. We're not under, in the fall, we wouldn't be under any pressure to try to get it restored. I mean, obviously we want it back to our more reliable source, but so that's just for your guys' information. That will be coming in the fall of this year. And the leak is, oil levels are above normal, so to speak, or are above the low markings, so we should be able to handle it. I mean, if things don't change or get worse, if things would get worse, we move everything up, and Sarah's going to be watching that, so on her monthly inspections. So that's.
So before we,
Go ahead.
oh, excuse me, if it's a planned outage, even if it's for a short period of time, can we give residents a notice of the date, approximate time potentially?
Yes, we can give that's kind of why we were bringing it to everyone's attention. It's a planned outage, and I'm guessing we can give them a 2-hour window, approximately when it could happen.
Okay.
We'll try to do it when everybody's awake, so they're not messing their alarm clocks.
And so the action item is to authorize or deny repair of a radiator valve shaft seal from Jordan Transformer LLC in the amount of $4,181. And then, as our engineer had explained, this could be potentially a cost of up to $10,000, and that is because then we bring in McLeod Co-op, who are our service or contracted service providers.
We have to contract in a larger group of linemen to do the switching, so that involves bringing trucks and linemen in, and that all comes with a price. So that would probably be more expensive than the actual repair for the end of in the long run, I guess you'd say.
Okay, so we could take action on that right now then, and that's taken care of as far as the Jordan Transformer. Any questions on that projected repair?
I just have one on the radiator valve seal, it's leaking, is it leaking externally or internally?
It's leaking externally. It's dripping. There's a slow leak, and if you would drive by there, you don't even have to go on the fence. You can see what's happening is the oil's leaking, and when it splatters, the dirt collects on it, so it really looks worse than it actually is. But it's an external leak.
You doing anything to catch it or contain it, or is it any
We could put some
PCBs in it or anything?
Nope, there's not. There's just mineral oil, and I guess one thing we could do is maybe put some floor dryer, an oil absorbing compound out there to try to help that. That's what we've done in the past on other sites. Just kind of, it absorbs it so it doesn't run all into the gravel. It's not. I mean, we're aware of it. We're working on it, and it's not enough to really threaten a runoff into a
Okay.
national
It's
park.
not gonna fill up the creek and have 5 feet of oil in it?
If it does that, it's not our transformer that did it.
Any other questions? Is
As far as that,
Go ahead.
as far as that motion goes, would it be maybe to request a little bit more funding for that, up to $10,000 instead of just the $4181?
I don't know if you have input on what that total cost would be from McLeod.
McLeod's not, to be honest, is not even aware that we're scheduling this yet. So I didn't want to get them all worked up thinking that we're going to be pulling everybody in on the 4th of July to come and do an oil leak. But, so I would say $10,000 might be a good round number. It shouldn't take that much, but I've been wrong before.
Well, if it has to be done, it has to be done, you know. So,
I could make a motion to authorize the repair of the radiator valve shaft seal from Jordan Transformer LLC, along with the scope of the work, up to $10,000.
I'll second that.
I guess the question that comes to mind for me is what happens if it's over 10? What happens if, it's probably a cost you will not know what the cost is until we get the bill from McLeod.
Yeah, or if we find something a little more damaging
Right.
from Jordan Transformer, I guess I hope I don't mislead you.
Yeah.
I mean, the leak to me looks like it. I mean, to me it looks like we could almost get lucky and take a ratchet up there and tighten it, but we're within a working zone of the 69,000 volts, which is an arc flash concern or approach distance, so we got to kill it to do it.
Yeah, and if you're in it and there's some complications, you can't turn back then, you're just gonna have to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Forge
make the
ahead.
repair
Yep.
or figure out a way to deal with the issue.
Okay, a motion has been made by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to authorize the repair of radiator valve shaft seal, and that's from Jordan Transformer LLC. The cost of that is $4,181, and with the cost did you say not to exceed?
Well, I'm not sure what I said, but we could say approximately. Maybe
Okay,
that gives a little
okay,
leeway.
leaves a little leeway at approximate total cost of $10,000.
Right.
Any further discussion?
So the $10,000 would include the 4181?
Yes.
Okay.
That makes me more relieved, like you said, that once you're in the middle of the project, you have to finish it.
That's right, that's right. Okay, any questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, well, just to kind of start what we actually came here for. Just gonna kind of run through a few things that we kind of got going on in town that we've done so far this year and what we've got going on, and then what we have plans for. I mean, obviously with the street repairs down on 4th and Alden by the police station and down through there, we had a few more buried wires in there than we expected, so McLeod's been down doing some moving some wires around. So that there's been a little bit of wire retirement, but for the most part our main new feeders and stuff have been worked with, and Char's done a good job of not chopping them up, so to speak. So we got that going on, and then we're in the process of McLeod's going to be putting in the Circle Drive expansion, so we're taking that out, and then what'll happen there is the city will be paying for the backbone piece going up the street, and then the taps off going to the new facilities will be recovered cost from the facilities. So that's kind of scheduled here to happen in the next couple of weeks, if I know time-wise. And then we got street lights that'll follow up down on 4th and Alden in different areas. I think there's a half dozen new street lights scheduled to come in there. So, and Sarah's been doing the substation inspections. Obviously, we're looking at that, and then I'm not sure who sprayed it, but someone has went out there and taken care of the weed issue that we did have inside the rock. And that was going to be one thing we're going to talk about tonight, but the weeds are turning brown, so I assume somebody helped them on their way. So, we got a major project that's going to be coming out for quotes or bids this summer. I don't want to say bids because Ross is going to take me to the public forum on those, but for quotes, we're going to get a quote to do pole testing. We're going to take about 200 poles and test them in town and check the status of them. If they come back with some pretty heavy failure rates, we're going to have to do a lot of repairs. And we've got money budgeted for pole replacement. So just give everyone a heads up, that's what's going on there. We probably will be coming back to look at maybe a couple additional transformers on the larger size for our inventory. These smaller ones we dealt with for tonight are more of our standard service sizes, but we do have use for them, like the new school, the high school, which is a new expansion this year. So we need to have a replacement available in the event of a failure in those areas, because that would not look well to us to not have. For the most part, I think Sarah's scheduled to maybe look at doing some infrared testing out here to check for heating in various areas with the infrared camera. What else is there? I got some pole replacement. That's going to be the major one to see how we do there. A little nervous on the level of reject poles that could be possibly come up. I mean, you guys know what you got in the system. It's a little aged in areas, so that's what we got to take care of. And we'd like to get a hold of another voltage regulator which controls the voltage in the substations. We have 3 operating ones in good shape right now, but we should probably have a spare so we can pull maintenance on the other ones. The substation is installed in 2005 roughly, so we've got a good 12 years of history on it now, which, like any used piece of equipment, 12 years is usually when you start to you gotta chip the rust off or at least change the oil a few times, so. Other than that, we've talked about putting a cement area in the storage facility, but as of right now, we haven't done that yet, and that's one of them things we don't need immediately, so. But that's kind of the status on what we've got going on in town, so. Is there any questions that you guys have of the engineering or where we go in the future? I mean, we're looking at maybe some feeder rebuilds coming up. I think, when's the first big one scheduled, and
Like this one,
yeah,
2017.
or no, not that one, I was thinking like this one here, the next cost of,
Oh, 2019.
yeah, in 2 years, we're gonna look at doing some line replacement, some major line where we've put some backbone in, now we just gotta do additional improvements, just to update things and put some more, we're looking at, a question I have for some of you guys, or if there's interest, if we do some pole replacement, we find multiple poles in trees and other things, we can look at doing some burying the line too to help with reliability. I don't know if you guys have taken any heat on that. I know Liza's called me a few times and questioned, you know, how do we get out of the eye of the storm, so to speak, but, so, I don't know if we wanna look at doing it more underground, or if you guys wanna stay with the standard overhead practice that we have, which is which is cheaper and more cost effective, accomplishes the same thing, or we can look at doing some line rebuilds to build burying things. So that's kind of more of a generic question. It doesn't need an answer either, so.
You would
I have a
indicate.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I was just questioning how long, as far as underground versus overhead, do they last? Does underground tend to last longer than overhead before they start showing wear and tear on the wires and such?
Yeah, I guess you'd say underground lasts probably longer because it's not exposed to the wind and all the other stuff that beats up the poles and human nature. I mean, human nature takes out how many poles a year. So the underground stuff it still has issues with boxes rusting and stuff like that. So I would say the underground might get you an extra, maybe quarter life cycle, maybe extra, say on a 30-year pole line, underground might go 40, or, it takes a while for that to actually play itself out. A good solid red cedar pole will sit there forever and not have an issue until, we make it happen typically. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and as far as then cost, if we're gaining maybe a quarter of the life, does the cost at the end of the day average, do we save more doing one or the other?
Actually, this is the kicker. If you're going to do economics directly, the cost of underground typically can be double the price of overhead, because of the wire is more expensive and the installation is more difficult. But once it's done, it produces a more reliable system. It won't have trees bothering. You'll save on life cycle on tree trimming. Long term, maybe even pole replacement. If there's a couple poles that are bad in that group, you don't have to replace them in an underground situation.
Both tree roots cause problems with the underground wire.
Yeah, they can. A lot of times when we put the wire in the ground on a tree root situation, we tend to affect the tree before the roots affect it. Typically they'll cut through the root or bore underneath it or bore through it. So it can cause detrimental effects to the tree. But yeah, over time it can grow into it and cause some spaghetti headaches or push into it and cause an outage.
If it is done at the time of a street and utility improvement project, is there cost savings there because the ground is already open anyway?
Yeah, there would definitely be a cost savings because then you're not dealing with trying to get the easement or and plus the convenience to the member or to the customer is a lot less because they're already kind of disturb the street, and we can put it in the back boulevard, and if there'd be a time to do it, that would be the best time is for scheduling, Liza.
So if you go from overhead to underground, does the customer pay from the transformer to the house, or who does that?
Yes and no. It all depends on how we've dealt with different utilities. Some utilities will make that leap where they pay for the full replacement all the way up to the meter socket. And others say, well, we'll take it to they actually leave the pole in the alley and they run a wire up to it, and then they leave the overhead stuff all still stringing to the houses. And in some cases where you have a smaller backyard and you got some cisterns or something buried back there, the reason your grandpa or someone else's grandpa came in overhead was to avoid all the buried stuff he had buried over the years. Or so I mean, there is good points to some of that, but
Well, I know that they put underground in the block, 400 block of East Main Street, probably about 20 plus years ago. And before then, we were constantly having issues anytime that it stormed. And it would always take that down, those lines down or whatever. So they finally put in underground there, and I know now it's been very reliable since then. So
I've noticed too I think the reliability coming down to like maybe not Jerry's Foods directly, but that line coming down by Pedersen's there, that stretch has been a lot more reliable than having the trees overhanging there. So I think we're making strides, and we've built some good underground improvements. I mean, if we just want to continue that practice, I mean, we kind of Arlington's in a situation where we're going to pay a contractor to come in, whether they're coming with a boring rig or they're coming with aerial trucks. We're paying for them to set up. So your 2-to-1 cost ratio might not be quite 2-to-1. It might be 1.5 to 1, or if it's really bad, it might be 4-to-1. That's one thing I've noticed over the years is it can vary if you get into a very dense area where you're doing a lot of boring underneath things and stuff like that. So.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we thank you for your report.
All right, well, thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
You
you.
didn't hear Sarah's
Thanks.
report.
Sarah can talk. She does talk. You want to speak?
Hi.
Very good.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9. I would like to introduce to you Laura Elvebach, and Laura is our, as I said earlier, our city administrator in waiting. She will take over, I believe, the 19th of July. Is that what? Whatever that date is. It was somewhere in my notes. A few weeks. So, Laura, would you want to come to the microphone and tell those present a little about yourself, as well as those that might be watching this on TV?
Sure. Well, I believe that the council probably got a copy of my resume, so I have a little bit more in-depth background, but I have almost 17 years of experience in local government, both counties and cities, working in communities anywhere ranging from about 500 in population up to about 50,000. So a wide range of population sizes, a lot of experience in human resources, land use and planning, budget, finance, all of that. So hopefully we'll be able to have a smooth transition. I would request that the bar not be set quite as high as it is as the one leaving, but I think fortunately I have a lot of confidence that we should be able to keep things moving along nicely during this transition. As I've been shadowing Liza, one thing that we've noticed is that whether fortunately or unfortunately, I have an awful lot of experience in working relationships with many of the consultants that the city uses, so I think that will really help you know, both the consultants as well as a lot of the elected officials and appointed officials within Sibley County and the surrounding communities I've worked with. So there should be a very smooth transition, and hopefully the projects can keep moving forward, and we'll have a great starting point for your next administrator to run with. So I look forward to the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And Laura will be joining the city here in a few weeks as far as the interim city administrator is concerned, and then also she will be serving until we obtain a full time city administrator, which probably will be October or November. So that process is started already as far as the search. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. Item 10, first reading of ordinance 313.
First reading of ordinance 313, an ordinance enacting a code of ordinances for the city of Arlington, Minnesota, amending, restating, revising, updating, codifying, and compiling certain ordinances of the city dealing with subjects embraced in the code of ordinances and providing penalties for the violation of the code of ordinances. City Attorney Arneson continues to work on this, did submit a draft of the chapters or the index for city council approval.
And this will have a physical copy of it.
Yeah, I see it in front of me. Thank you, Jim.
As I've commented on a few times in the past, I've been struggling with how to index the code. And as we're nearing the end of the chapters, I found a lot of standalone subjects, and my initial thought was to cram those into some of the major chapters. Zoning, which is already too large, and utilities, which is going to be also fairly large. And then I determined I needed to add a couple more subjects to the chapter 13 miscellaneous. And in contemplating that, I decided that the result is not going to be as workable as if we just have more chapters. So I think I've fought that battle long enough, and this is a final conclusion unless the council thinks otherwise. I was originally going to have 13 chapters. My proposal is to instead have 30 chapters. But that doesn't sound, I mean, it isn't as bad as it sounds. Of those 30 chapters, we've actually got 20 in the bag already. The first 10 chapters are unchanged, and the next 10 were lumped into this miscellaneous chapter. And I guess whenever indexing something, if you have a miscellaneous category, that's not really organizing anything. It's just saying, well, I don't know where else to put this, so we'll just shove it all into this bin. And I already had 10 subjects under miscellaneous, and I was looking at adding, in order to pick up these remaining standalone ordinances, adding maybe another 6. So you've got a miscellaneous chapter with potentially up to 16 different unrelated subjects in it. And to me, that's not organization. And so I guess, again, unless there's some violent reaction on the part of the council, I think this is going to be my final proposal, that we have a code with 30 chapters in it. And it's not going to be any longer, it's just a way of organizing it. And again, we're actually 2/3 of the way there already, because again, the first 10 chapters unchanged. The next 10 I already had incorporated in the miscellaneous chapter, which has been presented to the council already. So we're going to unbundle that miscellaneous chapter and turn it into 10 separate category chapters. So, any immediate reaction to that?
I think it's a great idea, because it's gonna be a lot more user-friendly, much more user.
Absolutely.
You wanna look something up, you don't have to go through everything, go to miscellaneous, and then search in miscellaneous. You can go right down to your category and boom, you got what you want.
Right.
I
I
felt,
think it's a
Right,
great
yep.
idea.
I felt the same as Congressman. Congress, yes, sorry. That the purpose of doing this is make it simpler. Find what you're looking for with little effort. And if you have each topic as a chapter, that's all that's gonna be in there, and you should be able to find what you're looking for more readily.
Yeah, I feel the same way as
I
well.
agree.
Excellent. Well, then I'll proceed accordingly. What I'll be doing is, again, the first 10 chapters are in the bag. The next 10, I'll just be renumbering from the miscellaneous chapter that was already presented. And then the remaining 10 chapters of the 30, I think the first 7 of those I'll be presenting by the next meeting, because those are these standalone, fairly simple chapters. And I did, as you may have noticed, the last 20 chapters, I try to put in somewhat of an alphabetical order. And nicely, that resulted in utilities and zoning being at the end. And those are by far the two most lengthy chapters. So we'll swallow those at the end. Good. Thanks.
That's good.
Looks good.
Thank you, Ross.
Okay, that would then constitute part of first reading of ordinance 313. Move on to the first reading of ordinance 315.
First reading of ordinance 315, an ordinance to amend the City of Arlington off-sale liquor license regulations for council's action at our last council meeting. City Attorney Arneson has drafted some language in support of the state's change in allowing Sunday sales.
And the only thing that's actually changed is if you look at proposed section 1, sub 1, on Sundays, and here's the change under state law, except between the hours of 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. So what it's saying is that, sales are prohibited on Sunday, except now you can sell between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. So that's really the only thing that's changed. All the rest of this is unchanged from previous state law. And for some reason, and this whole thing is just taken verbatim right off the state statute. And number 2, for some reason, they're still prohibiting any deliveries on Sunday. So apparently they felt some mercy to the delivery drivers. Further comment, and another change in the state law that the legislature enacted that we became aware of, you now have to post the subject of an ordinance 10 days before you take action on it. And so, but again, this is just a first reading anyway. And so if this is put on the city website or posted at the usual physical locations, we should be able to enact it at the next meeting, because we will have that 10 days out of the way. I can't tell you why the legislature imposed that change. It's just there. The other thing I think we've addressed before, what do our liquor licensees do between now and the time we officially enact this? Well, after talking to the league and looking at some of the language that was published on this, the legislature took a somewhat ambiguous approach when they passed this new law. They basically said, this is the law. However, local jurisdictions can opt out of this. But then it left standing a question, since it was done in kind of a murky way. Well, does that mean that this is the law unless we, formally reject it at the city level? Or is it kind of floating in limbo until we take action one way or the other? And the league indicated to me, well, to avoid any doubt, take some kind of positive action on it, either
adopt it, which we're doing, or reject it. But either one, do it in writing. But in the meantime, since this is a state law that's in place, I guess my advice was to allow our liquor licensees to go ahead and sell on Sundays under the auspices of the state law, even though we haven't taken formal action at the local level.
All right, any questions? This again was brought to us because of action we took at a previous meeting to allow liquor sales on Sunday to go along with the state law.
And I do have a question regarding the 10-day posting. Is it simply enough to the title, the first reading ordinance, the title of it, to be posted on the agenda, where we always post it on the website and in a public location? Is that enough, or the actual entire ordinance needs to be posted?
That's a good question. My initial impression is that the entire thing has to be available, and especially if it's on our website, that's easy to do. As we get into lengthier ordinances, and that's a good thing, I should clarify with the league. Just as now, once we enact an ordinance, we can publish a summary of it in the paper to save publication fees. And that's under a special state law allowing us to do that. So I'm not sure exactly what their thought was on this advance notice prior to adopting an ordinance. I'll check with the league on that. But the impression I have at this point is we just post the subject matter, so any interested parties can attend and comment on it at the next meeting. But that we don't have to physically post the entire ordinance. But I will get back to you on that.
Okay, again, this is the first reading. Any comments or questions? Councilmember Batcher, anything?
No, although I do see something further in our agenda, speaking of Sunday off sale license fee.
Yes, we'll take that up later.
Yep.
And that is dealing with, do we impose an additional charge because now they can sell on Sunday? So we'll talk about that a little bit. Anything else? First reading, ordinance number 315? If not, we will move along. A list of resolutions, longer than ever before.
For breaking records.
Yeah. Item 11, Resolution A, Resolution 56-2017.
Resolution 56-2017 is to authorize or deny MnDOT agreement to provide ownership and maintenance of crosswalk system at Trunk Highway 5 and Adams Street. The staff had received an email from MnDOT just asking if we had an agreement in place for a crosswalk system that was installed in 2013, and we did not. So therefore, they felt they needed to close out their records apparently and sent us this agreement. I did forward it to our city attorney to review. Now, there was some question on behalf of our city attorney about why is this coming at such a late date, but it did forward that question to Scott Thompson, our MnDOT engineer, and he had just mentioned that although there wasn't an agreement in place until, well, now this proposed agreement, it is often the understanding that when the MnDOT replaces a traffic signal with a crosswalk system, then it is assumed that the city is going to take responsibility or maintenance of that. And so he had said he didn't have anything specific in writing, but he did have notes indicating that this topic was discussed at a February 26, 2013 meeting with Sibley County Engineer Darren Melke, Mayor Kraft, and Cynthia Smith-Strack. So the agreement was approved to form. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add, City Attorney Arneson.
No.
Okay, then the city would be in charge of the maintenance from here on out. And
Correct.
any cost or labor involved in maintaining that light. All right. Would someone care to introduce Resolution 56-2017?
I will introduce Resolution 56, 2017, to authorize MnDOT agreement to provide ownership and maintenance of crosswalk system at Trunk Highway 5 and Adams Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, introduced, Resolution 56-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Yashewski, second by Councilmember Cowell. And that is a authorization to MnDOT agreement to provide ownership and maintenance of crosswalk system at Trunk Highway 5 and Adams Street. Is there any further questions?
So that is routine, that typically is how that goes?
That's what we understand, yes.
Okay.
If we did not authorize this, what would happen to that crosswalk? Would the state pull it, or would the state pay for it and leave it there?
That was my thought, Tom.
I have no idea, but logic would say that if it needs to be fixed, the state won't fix it.
They'll just leave it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we need to take ownership.
Okay, any other questions?
Well, it just says resolution that the city of Arlington enter the MnDOT agreement, with the state of Minnesota Transportation for the purpose of provide ownership and maintenance of the new rectangular rapid flash beacon crosswalk. I don't see where it says who takes the ownership. It doesn't say that Arlington, city of Arlington will be the owner of that.
In the
Am
attached,
I reading it wrong?
no, in the attached agreement, or to the resolution, it
Yeah.
lays that all out.
Were we having some issues with that light anyhow?
City engineer, if I'm right, says yes.
Have they been resolved?
Has it been
Has it been
resolved?
resolved?
I just drove in today as I was driving in on 5 and it was flashing and there was nobody there.
Nobody there.
I think, when we installed this other one out here, right out in front of City Hall, it's taken some maintenance on the contractor's behalf, so they've been adjusting that. There is some ongoing maintenance. Anytime you have these electronics and things like that, they're gonna require some maintenance. I'm not exactly sure if there's a sensor that's moved on it right now, but, there will be maintenance, just like if you had a traffic signal, same type of thing.
This one out here still is, as of 2 days ago, is still not working. It flashes when there's no people there. I drove
Well,
through
it's-
there and I thought flashing, I thought there's nobody around here. 2 lights on each side were blinking, I think.
Just on the one side,
Or I think both sides were.
both sides of the road?
There was, I think, 2 lights on each, I think.
Yeah.
And there was nobody around other than me coming through the lights. I didn't think that was probably normal.
I know when they're initiated, they'll flash for a period of time after that, so whoever walked across could be gone.
There was nobody a block either way, I looked.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Somebody's running fast.
I can look
Well, is-
faster than they can run.
Is there a way that we could not agree to this until it's in working condition before we accept ownership? Functioning properly?
That would probably be an issue with the contractor rather than MnDOT, I would say.
I would say the warranty period's probably up on that contract. I was not involved in that. MnDOT installed that crosswalk, is that correct?
That's right. When they took the
The signal down?
signal down,
Okay, then they installed that.
that was sort of a.
It's typical that those get turned over to a city, and I just think this is a lagging agreement. Certainly could request having them maintenance it before you take it over, but I'm not sure what they would say to that.
I suppose on that subject, I suppose it doesn't hurt to ask.
Right, well, I think it's in our best interest to be able to, accept ownership when it's working properly.
All they can do is say no if we ask.
Would the council want to withhold action on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to
Okay.
withdraw that
Table
motion,
for now,
Withdraw, okay.
Table.
or table it.
that's easy.
Councilmember Yashewski withdrew the resolution introduction, as did Councilmember Cowell the second, and that will be dealt with after the state is contacted in regard to checking if the signal is working properly. Okay, item B, resolution 57-2017.
Since our city engineer made the long trek here, I'll have him introduce the next two items.
Let the minutes read that city engineer Jason Femright has joined us this evening.
Good evening. We have two resolutions in front of you, first of which is the Arlington Cemetery improvements. Bids were opened on Friday, June 23rd at 10 a.m. We received three bids. Lowest bid was to Nielsen Blacktopping for $90,698.00. It did appear to be a very competitive bid. All of the three bids that we received were all relatively close, which were above the engineer's estimate. I did speak with a couple of the contractors for some of those reasons, and some of the numbers I was using was probably based off of typical street projects. This is a little bit more unique, being it's in a cemetery. It's a little bit more delicate work, as they kind of put it, working in those areas. So I certainly think we had a good bid here, and if deemed appropriate, the council should award the contract to Nielsen Blacktopping.
And that's to reconstruct all the roads within the cemetery, as I read, correct?
It is, except for that westernmost entrance, which was relatively new. That is not included in it. So all access will be to the north, kind of near the city shop, coming in there. There'll be no improvements to that to the existing western access, but reconstructing those along with building the new road on the south side.
And was this whole amount budget, or is this what we budgeted for this project for this year?
I think there was $98,500 budgeted for this. So we are under budget on it.
I'll make a motion to accept introduce resolution 57-2017, accepting bid and awarding contract for cemetery improvements.
Second.
Resolution 57-2017 has been introduced by Councilmember Batcher, second by Councilmember Cowell. And that is a resolution accepting the bid, awarding the contract for the cemetery improvement project to Nielsen Blacktopping at a cost of $90,698. Is there any discussion?
One quick question.
Yeah.
Is Nielsen or is Nielsen Nysen?
Nielsen?
Yeah, that's not Nysen.
It is not. No.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I verify that.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, Nielsen
That was my only concern.
is a contractor out of the Mankato area that does this type of work, yes.
I just wanted to verify that.
I know where you're coming
Could
from,
be a
Tom.
difference, yeah.
Yeah, that could be a big difference.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Batcher,
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell,
yes.
and Councilmember Highland.
Yes,
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted.
Okay, the second bid opening that we held on that same day, Friday, June 23rd, we held this one at 10:30. It was for the 2017 bituminous seal coating. Three bids, again, were received on that. The lowest bid for the seal coating portion of that was Pearson Brothers, and that was a bid amount of $66,561. We received the three bids, and they were all over the board. Pearson had a significantly better price on the seal coating than the next bidder, along with the third. Was significantly under the engineer's estimate. I hear the seal coating world out there right now is very, very competitive, and Pearson is a contractor that's worked in town on past seal coating projects, and They were certainly excited to be able to come back and continue to serve the city of Arlington. They did have a crack filling quote in here on a per lineal foot of 75 cents per lineal foot. And that is compared to the second bidder, which was $1.55 per lineal foot. So again, almost half the price in crack filling as well. So if deemed financially feasible, we'd recommend awarding to Pearson.
And the history that we've had with Pearson, they've done a good job.
I can't remember if they were the contractor from last year.
I don't believe they were last year, but the
Year
previous
before,
years
really.
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. I think they were a little bummed out that they didn't get the bid last year, but so they sharpened their pencils this year and certainly secured a good number.
But they've done a good job for us in the past.
I have not heard of any issues with them.
Okay.
What type of repairs are normally done before the seal coating itself? You have crack filling, that is just a normal thing that they'll go and...
It is, and that's something that when we award this to them, I'll go and walk the project, all the streets, or we'll drive or walk, and along with your public works maintenance person, the contractor, along with myself, and we'll start to identify where we should crack fill and where we shouldn't.
Okay.
Some of these areas where you're seeing, alligator cracking, where there's no reason to be doing any crack filling there. It's where do you start and where do you stop? We'll come to some type of agreement so that it's not excessive, but certainly warranted to help seal up that. I believe there's going to be some other bituminous patching and that's going to happen by city staff prior to them doing this. So.
What about manholes that have sunk? There, I know there's a number of intersections you drive in, the manhole is probably inch and a half below the level of the street. Is that something that's...
That is nothing that's included in this.
Okay.
If that's something that you wanted to do, that could be hire another contractor to come in and raise some of those. Before this is probably going to be a bit challenging timing wise, but understanding that could be a goal moving forward to raise some of those. But there's there's a couple of different ways. One is, they just pull off the manhole lid itself, and then there's these metal rings that can snap in there. Some communities like them, and some communities don't. Some public works folks that do the snow plowing may not be that excited about them. If they do stick up a little bit and that plow catches it, it can snap it. Others see the value that it's a lot easier to do that. It's going to be a lot more cost effective. Otherwise, you have to dig up a patch around that manhole, add an adjusting ring to it to raise it up, and then repatch around that. So it's a lot more involved. I've seen those rings work, and then I've seen others that claim that they're not their favorite. So
Okay, I just want to know if that had anything to do with
that's not
what we were
included
doing.
here. Yes.
Okay.
And I know in preparation for this project, our maintenance supervisor Kirby Weckwork is also looking at areas where curb needs to be replaced, storm inlets, all that
Okay.
such, so there's some prep work that takes place.
Okay.
I know a question that Kirby Weckworth had was, do you know approximately when the contractor's ready to start, or has that not yet been identified?
We'll talk to them right after we send the contracts to them here. Or I guess this isn't a full contract, so I'll give them a ring right afterwards and see what their timing is and see if we can understand that. If we have some work to do ahead of time, maybe they can. I know they're going to kind of do a tour of southern Minnesota with the communities that they have this secured, and I'm not sure where this fits in that queue yet.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where's Pearson located? Where's their home base? You know offhand?
Hanover? Hanover?
Andover?
Hanover?
Hanover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the 763 number, so it's okay.
Oh, okay.
Not terribly far.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions in regard to the,
I did see some spots where the white paint was
yeah,
painted around, looked like maybe the blacktop was breaking up. I would assume that was a repair. You do that, Bernie?
I was marking it in preparation for the contractors to come and look for the estimate for the patch.
Okay.
I think I saw that same red marking around a manhole that was sunk, so that probably was
Yeah.
for the same purpose to take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, would someone wish to introduce the resolution?
I move to.
I'll introduce, go ahead.
We got one here. We got a live one.
All right.
Where was I? Okay. Move to accept Resolution 58, 2017, and award contract for the 2017 bituminous seal coating. Now go to
Pearson
Brothers
Brothers. yeah. Okay,
Contracting.
is there a second?
I'll second.
That one I'm gonna give to her. Okay, Councilmember Highland introduced Resolution 58-2017. Councilmember Batcher seconded that resolution introduction. And that is for accepting a bid and awarding a contract for the 2017 bituminous seal coating project to Pearson Brothers, Inc. at a base bid of $66,561. Any further questions? Comments? If not, we'll vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Batcher.
Yes,
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, resolution's adopted. Moving on to resolution D 59, or I'm sorry, item D 59-2017.
At the council's special, or at the last council meeting, it was agreed by the council to move forward with a contract with Laura Alvabach. And then, so as just part of formal bookkeeping measures, we do have a copy of an agreement for those services, as well as a resolution just appointing an interim city administrator and allowing for a contractual rate of $65 per hour. And that information is before you.
I would like to introduce Resolution 59-2017, resolution appointing an interim city administrator.
I'll second it.
Okay, resolution 59-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Batcher, seconded by Councilmember Hattlestead, and that is a resolution authorizing the city of Arlington to enter into an agreement with Laura Alvabach for interim city administrator duties. Is there any further questions? If not, vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Batcher.
Yes,
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
And Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted.
You're in.
it's official.
If that's a good deal later.
Item E, which is Resolution 60-2017.
So again, just for bookkeeping measures, the council did agree at their special council meeting on June 26th to move forward with a contract with interim police chief. So here's a copy of the resolution as well as the agreement allowing for professional administrative police chief duties to commence on June 29th at a salary based at $1,750 a month.
I'll introduce Resolution 60-2017, authorizing employment contract with interim police chief.
Second.
Okay, Resolution 60-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Batcher, second by Councilmember Hattlestead, and that is a resolution authorizing the city of Arlington to enter into an agreement with Pat Nienaber for the interim police chief duties. Is there any comments or questions? Vote by roll call. Councilmember Cowell?
Yes.
Councilmember Batcher?
Yes,
Councilmember Hattlestead?
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski?
Yes.
And Councilmember Highland?
Yep.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted. Item F, Resolution 61-2017.
Resolution 61-2017 is to authorize or deny a sponsorship agreement with AGGW Financial Services for a strategic planning session. At the workshop on June 19th, the council did decide that they would like to pursue or move forward with a strategic planning session with Professor Craig Waldron of Hamlin University. Due to the turnover here that's coming up, they chose to, or the council wishes to push that process off until early January. There is a grant that has been awarded to the city, which would pay for 50% of those fees. So this resolution and the attached agreement would allow for acceptance of those grant funds toward the process.
Okay. Anyone
I'll
wish?
introduce 61-2017 unless somebody else says.
Nope, you're on.
All right, authorized sponsorship agreement with AGGW Financial Services for our strategic planning session.
Second.
Okay, resolution 61-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Batchor and seconded by Councilmember Cowell, and that is a resolution authorizing the City of Arlington to enter into a sponsorship agreement with AGGW Financial for strategic planning services. Any further questions, comments? If not, vote by roll call. Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed. Resolution is adopted.
There's two Fs.
What?
There's
Oh, yeah, there is.
That's it?
two item Fs.
There's just-
Oh, two item Fs, okay. Well, we'll go to the other F then. Resolution 62-2017.
So attached to this resolution is just that service agreement for Professor Craig Waldron's services. And so you'll find resolution 62-2017 to authorize or deny service agreement with Hamlin Professor Craig Waldron for strategic planning session in 2018.
I'll make a motion to authorize resolution 62-2017, authorizing service agreement with Hamlin Professor Craig Waldron for strategic planning session in 2018.
I'll second it.
Resolution 62-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Yashewski, and it was seconded by Councilmember Hattlestead, and that is a resolution authorizing the service agreement with Hamlin Professor Craig Waldron for strategic planning session in 2018. Any questions?
Looking forward to it.
Okay. If not, we'll play the roll call vote. Councilmember Yashewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor,
Yes.
Councilmember Highland,
Yep.
Councilmember Hattlestead,
Yes.
and Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 63-2017.
This is just another bookkeeping item. Per Auditor Olinger's advice to close out the 2015 Street Utility Improvement Construction Fund. Transfer would be made from the construction fund into the debt service fund. And then another annual bookkeeping item is just to authorize a transfer from our general and sewer fund into the 2008 equipment certificate fund. That bond will mature in 2019, but this is a budgeted item that we take care of every year.
I'll make a motion to authorize resolution 63-217 to authorize transferring the city funds.
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Hattlestead introduced the resolution 63-2017, and that is a resolution transferring city funds. It was seconded by Councilmember Batchor. Is there any questions? Comments? If not, roll call vote. Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 64-2017.
This is a new request that's come before the council, but German Days Incorporated, who they perform the gambling at the Arlington House, they have now submitted a request to provide lawful off-site gambling during the Sibley County Fair, August 2nd through the 6th. Before you is the state application to conduct off-site gambling, and it's handled as we take care, similar to how we take care of other lawful gambling applications.
I'll introduce Resolution 64, 2017, authorizing the lawful off-site gambling permit to German Days, Inc. during the Sibley County Fair, August 2nd through the 6th, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilmember Batchor introduced Resolution 64-2017. Councilmember Cowell seconded. That is a resolution approving the application for lawful off-site gambling permit for German Days, Inc.
Do we know if they cleared this with the Sibley County Agriculture
Yes, they did.
Committee?
They did.
They did, okay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed. The resolution is adopted. Resolution 65-2017.
Resolution 65-2017 is to authorize or deny a service agreement with Abdo Eichen Myers LLP for administrating the city's 2018 budget process. So during the interim period here, the 2018 budget process typically takes place. It's usually a 6-month process, starts at about now, where an email is sent out to all our department heads and our consultants asking for their budget requests and capital items for the 2018 budget. And then the city administrator pulls that all together. There's several budget workshops that take place. So the council had asked during our workshop on June 19th for a quote from Abdo Eichen Myers for that budget process. As mentioned before, our interim city administrator said that she's also very comfortable in conducting the 2018 budget process. The good part, or the pro, about moving forward with Abdo Eichen Myers is that they'd be here through the entire process, whereas if we're not quite finished with it by the end of October, then there would have to be a handoff at some sort.
And what is their quote as far as their cost?
Her quote is for $5,000 as estimated prior, but this is just to formalize that. They do outline a schedule of agreed upon procedures, which includes the city is to submit our 2017 budget workshop, which is a pretty extensive line-by-line document that some of you are used to seeing, along with any other supporting documentation. Then the city will provide budget requests by each department. And then Abdo Eichen Myers will attend one preliminary budget workshop and one final budget workshop to discuss the budget and then present for final approval. And the report will include a line item budget document that follows our chart of accounts that we use.
Typically, how
Well,
many,
after reviewing,
typically,
Can I interrupt?
how many budget workshops do we usually have?
We have several.
I mean, is 2 enough? If there's one in the beginning and one at the end?
You know, in the past, that's what we have done, but maybe they have a process that works. You know, we took it little chunks at a time, and perhaps they just take larger chunks.
How comfortable are you in taking on our budget?
I certainly would have no concerns doing that, other than within I would assume it would take outside of the allotted 20 hours. We'd be looking at some additional hours per week to get that completed, and, especially if there would be some additional workshops and stuff like that. But certainly, review it initially and
I do think the item you brought up, though, about the fact that interim city administrator Elvebach's tenure could expire somewhere through so whereas with Abdo Eich, they would be able to follow through all the way through December through the finalization process. So
And that would be one less thing for the new city administrator to worry about. They could dive into it next year, after they've had a few months to get to know the city and council and the committees.
Is there any savings one way or the other, or are they gonna eventually balance out? We're looking just to cut corners if we can.
We have no indication from AGGW how much time they're guessing it will take. No.
Their letter does not indicate.
It makes sense to have them do it because they'll be around to the end.
Yeah. I
Well-
absolutely have no qualm about interim administrator Elbach's qualifications to do it, but it is that, you know, if our plans follow through and we have a new city administrator come on in October or November, then it could be.
If she's in the middle of doing the budget, and October comes along and her contract is done, or we have another administrator,
Mhm.
if she's working on a additional time hourly basis, I would assume she'd just continue working on the budget
Until the end.
Yeah.
Well, we'd have to make that agreement with her.
Yeah.
for-
Unless you get a
Would
big
that
job
work?
offer in San Francisco or something.
Yeah, I think initially we were looking at it just being during that specific timeline, so if there would be outside of that timeline, you know, I would say I'd have to revisit that. to see if that's-
Would you be available?
Right, that's what I would have to.
You know, we could be fine dandy today, but come October, she could have another job or,
And there was it.
Yeah.
so we,
I think we're forced to go with AGGW, Ike and Myers, if for no other reason, the time frame.
Yeah, the follow through. I mean, initially I thought it would be great to have city administrator Elbach do it because I think she's gonna be still ultimately doing a brunt of the work because they'll be leaning on her, asking her to submit information, and she's gonna be probably meeting with some of those department heads to kind of flush out some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both discussed it, and the idea of the follow through until the very end, it is very attractive for AGGW to do it.
Well, we haven't officially gotten the formal proposal from them yet, so.
We did receive it today in an email, and I did attach it to the packet. I mean, I hope
Oh.
it attached. And so within their letter of intent, it lists out the 4 action items as I read, and then does lay out that they estimate their fees for the services to be $5,000. This fee is based on anticipated cooperation from personnel and an assumption that unexpected circumstance will not be encountered during the engagement. If there is additional time needed, they would come back to the council and discussion would be had on those fees. Yeah. It's a pretty standard, it's similar to their other letter of intent that they sent for their 5-year planning. It's just they lay out 4 action steps.
Can we, put this on hold for till the next meeting and maybe get a little more information from,
Staff is required, or department heads are required to submit their budget requests by July 21st, so, yeah, you would have some time to decide.
Well, regardless, department heads are gonna be turning in those to Laura, so all that can be gathered. And wouldn't be holding up, I don't think, the budgeting process, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, council wish to hold off on this till the next meeting?
Is there any other
Yeah.
additional information you want me to gather, or what? I'm just trying to get a feel for,
The only question I have, what's gonna change from now till 2 weeks from now?
Right.
We know what Abdo, Ike, and Myers can do, and our concern with our interim city administrator is we could come October or November have her gone, and now what do we do? I don't see that changing. I have no problem with her doing it, but that's taking a pretty big gamble. Now where do we go the last 6 weeks? Who do we hire then? Where if we go with these guys, it's a done deal. Unless something magic happens in 2 weeks.
Are there any other companies that do that same kind of process, right, other than the Abdo?
yes, there are.
Did you hear the answer to your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are other companies. So, were any of those solicited for a competitive bid at all, or not, or?
No, I just sought information from each of the interim city administrators, and as well as acquired a quote from there to achieve our three quotes.
And they have access over the years to what we've been doing, correct?
Correct. As well as our 5-year financial plan and
Right.
they have the history, the future.
I think we should just vote on it right now. I think we could vote on it right now.
I'll tell you what I'll do, we'll find out. I'll make a motion for resolution 65-217 to authorize a service agreement with Abdo, Ike, and Myers LLP for administrating the city's 2018 budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? This is resolution 65-2017. We'll vote by roll call vote. Councilmember Highland.
No.
Councilmember Cowell.
Yes.
Councilmember Yashewski.
Yes?
Councilmember Hattlestead.
Yes?
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution is adopted by a 4-1 vote. All right. Resolution 66-2017.
Correct. So as introduced during the announcements, the Arlington Night Out is scheduled for August 1st, and typically, city is not allowed to solicit funds. And staff was excited to read or open an email today from League of Minnesota Cities that described that a new law was put in place, which allows in an unprecedented manner, allowing the city to raise funds for events that foster positive relationships between law enforcement and the community. So I did have City Attorney Arneson just review our local ordinances just to make sure that we don't have any ordinances that would allow us to raise funds, and he had verified that we do not have such action in place. So this would allow council staff to solicit, which would help just make a even bigger and a better event.
I'd like to move, I'd like to move that we authorize the city to solicit funds for annual Arlington Night Out event, and that's resolution 66-2017.
I'll second that.
Motion, or I should say resolution 66-2017 was introduced by Councilmember Yashewski, second by Councilmember Hattlestead. And that is a resolution authorizing to solicit funds for annual Arlington Night Out event. Any further comments, questions?
If we don't use all the money we solicit, does it stay into account for like the next year, or for some, it would have to be used for solely these types of
Correct.
things?
Okay, other questions? If not, Councilmember Yashewski,
Yes.
Councilmember Hattlestead,
Yes.
Councilmember Highland,
Yes.
Councilmember Cowell,
Yes.
Councilmember Batchor.
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed, resolution 66-2017 is approved. Okay, under unfinished business, item number 12, discuss Sunday off-sale liquor fee, or liquor license fee, I'm sorry.
So in light of council's recent action to support the state's off-sale liquor regulations allowing Sunday sales, the city may wish to designate a fee for that license. Currently, Arlington House, the Dugout, and Arlington Liquors, they do pay $100 a year for their off-sale license, which allows Monday through Saturday sales. So if the council desires to charge a Sunday off-sale license fee, I guess staff would request that that be a minimal fee related to the one out of the 6 other days that sales are allowed. State statute does allow a city with less than 5,000 in population to impose up to $240 for off-sale licenses. If you are going to change a fee on any license or liquor license fees, there must be a public hearing. As part of our annual process each year in June, liquor licenses are renewed, and so those fees have already been paid. So staff's recommendation was that, as part of the resolution for our fee schedule at the end of the year, perhaps at that time, we can coordinate a public hearing process, change that fee, and then it would be in place for next year's
How much are they paying now for off-sale?
$100.
And then, how long has that been that for? Roughly?
I don't know how long it's been.
So if we
I don't
were
know,
to,
city attorney Arson,
In my
if you recall.
memory, I don't remember any council action raising the license fees. So it's been a while. Can't quote how long.
so if we were to raise the Sunday fee to $5,000, that would,
First of all, you are limited to $240. So,
Is there an added cost to the city to add on that additional Sunday license?
if you wanted to go ahead and do it now,
If somebody wanted to do it, what's the costing the city to do this, other than a piece of paper?
it would be a fee of publishing the public hearing
Publishing
notice,
the
sending out
hearings.
notices.
So we could at least at a minimum recoup that.
But there's no fee, I think what he's asking, there's no fee for us to allow them to sell
Yeah,
liquor.
just as
Correct.
part of the license.
It's just part of it,
Mhm.
right? Is that what you're?
However,
asking?
we could
No,
still
I was
have our
thinking
liquor
that.
license.
That's what I
mon-
thought you were asking too.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Batchor, would you repeat that, please?
There's no, there's no need for us to change it though either, correct? I mean, we're not
Correct.
incurring any more costs.
Correct.
A 6-day license a week or a 7-day license a week. If we keep it at the same, we don't know what the business is gonna be like on Sundays, whether or not they're gonna stick with it or not, or if they're gonna throw in the towel after a couple of weeks or a month or two. So, I guess on my part here, I don't feel that we should increase the liquor license or charge additional for Sunday.
I'd
Well,
like to
and-
make a motion that we include the Sunday liquor license in the regular fee that they pay already at $100 a year.
I'd second that.
Motion by Councilmember Highland, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to not increase the liquor license fee or the off-sale liquor license fee due to their ability to sell on a Sunday. In other words, include it in the license fee that has already been paid. Now, if that isn't a confusing statement,
I have the
you got the gist of it.
Councilmember
though,
Highland
don't you?
include the Sunday fee as part of the regular off-sale liquor
like that.
fee of $100.
Mine got too wordy. All right, any questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 13, Johnson Controls update.
Well, as the council recalls, we've had consistent problems with our streetlight system. That was part of our general contract with Johnson Controls about 9 years ago now. Much of their contract has been successful. Their main sales point was to reduce our overall energy consumption costs. And I believe that they've met the promised goals for that energy conservation. But a part of that contract was to have supposedly more energy efficient streetlights. And it's turned out that there's one component, kind of an ignition switch, that came from some California company, was a subcontractor of Johnson Controls, that wasn't designed to survive our winters. It's been a real thorn in the side of the street department in dealing with that, having to swap out these parts, and then fighting a battle with the supplier who's been rather negligent in supplying replacement parts as they had originally promised under the contract. We had a very good response from Johnson Controls in the first years. We had Johnson Controls personnel come out here physically to meet with city staff and discuss the issue. They provided some pressure on the supplier out in California, so they were more responsive also in the early years. But it seems to have tapered off to the point where now, in our contacts with Johnson Controls, they promised some action, but then did not respond to us for perhaps the last 6 months, despite repeated phone calls and emails. The council discussed and authorized me to send a letter to their corporate president telling him we're about to sue unless we get some response. The president's name is Mr. Oliver. When I was researching that and getting his address, I determined that Johnson Controls is no longer a small company. They recently just absorbed another large corporation, so they're actually an international conglomerate now. They're still headquartered in Wisconsin, but it occurred to me that if I send Mr. Oliver a letter, he's not going to call me up the next day. What would happen is he would trickle it down the chain of command to the guys that were supposed to be responding to us, which is this attorney from the legal department and Lyle Schumann, the regional manager. And so before sending that letter out to Mr. Oliver, I thought I would cut to the chase and contacted those two guys again and informed them that I'm about to send a letter out to their president, complaining of the lack of response and the fact that the city is now contemplating a lawsuit. And perhaps they would like to respond to me first before I sent the letter out to the president. And guess what? I did start getting calls from their legal department again, but we've been playing telephone tag for about the last 3 weeks. As it sometimes happens, the time is just right. He'll call when I'm in court or at a meeting somewhere, and then I'll call back, and then he'll call back a week later, and again miss me. So in my last call to him, I suggested that he respond by email, which he hasn't done yet. But at least we've got the lines of communication open again. In the meantime, I did also further research something I had commented to the council about before, and that is that if we do sue them, what is our expectation? I guess I'm hoping they'll provide us with some cooperation short of a lawsuit, but one issue I mentioned before is depreciation on a guarantee. We have a 10-year guarantee, which is up next year, but we're 9 years into the contract. Statistically, although this problem with the light fixtures has been a real pain in the side for the staff, statistically, at any given time, about 95% or more of the street lights have been working. And American Induction, the supplier out in California, has been, under the terms of the guarantee, supplying us with replacement parts. Although that's been, especially in recent years, more haphazard and, you know, much more delayed. And the last I had heard from city staff, we were still waiting on, this is previous street superintendent, that he was waiting for 7 or 8 of these starters that had been requested some time ago. But with those statistics, I guess unfortunately, based on my research, I think it's fairly likely that if we end up having to sue Johnson Controls, when they apply this depreciation factor, they may say that they, you know, fulfilled 95% of the contract, and so they're liable to us for the remaining 5%. So, is there a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Probably not. Can we get some cooperation from them? I'm hoping we can. But legally speaking, can we expect them to provide an entirely new streetlight system to us? I guess having completed my research, the answer in my mind is probably not. So.
You would think, because of their poor service, we couldn't honor, they wouldn't be honoring their warranty because we couldn't contact them.
Yes,
I mean,
well, and that's why I think we have some grounds for suit. But again, the thing the court would look at is, trying to think of an analogy. Well, let's go with the lemon law, you know, when it comes to motor vehicles. I won't get into the details of how that works, but let's say you have a car and it's mostly good, but there's this one persistent problem, okay? And so it's not running at full efficiency. So you sue the dealer. Can you anticipate a totally brand new car, you know, free of charge? No. Probably the court's going to say, well, dealer, you fix that problem, that recurring problem. You know, make sure it's fixed. Okay. I think that's the situation we're in. You know, we can't expect them to give us an entirely new car, an entirely new lighting system. Maybe they're responsible for some reimbursement to us because we've had these hassles, you know, for many years, and it seems like we've consistently always had, you know, 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 streetlights that weren't working at any certain time, and that's probably worth some money.
Weren't the streetlights consistently having a problem with the cold weather?
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's what we've concluded, that they weren't designed, this one part wasn't designed to stand up to our cold weather. And
So when
we checked around with other cities too. At one point there was some indication that Glencoe had the same system, and I checked on that, and it turns out they didn't. They did have some problems with their streetlight system, which was also Johnson Controls, but it was a different subcontractor. And but their problems were at the outset, and they were basically solved. You know, our problems started, you know, later and never were fully resolved.
So when they talk about their efficiency and how they met their goals for efficiency, with us having consistently lights being out and stuff like that, not working, not using any energy, is that enough to say that they did not meet their goal in the efficiency because their product's not working here, or is that too big of a gap that we cannot argue that?
Yeah, that's a good theory, and I think for that component of the contract, we may have, you know, some basis of complaint. But as far as the energy savings, that was a very small part of the overall contract. Mostly it had to do with the, you know, heating, lighting, air conditioning in the city buildings, you know, things of that nature.
we wanted our lights to be on so that we could see and be safe, and we
Yes.
could never count on that.
Yes.
Fortunately, we had no trouble with anybody because of the lights not being on, but potential was there.
Yes, and that's why, again, I think we have a basis for some suit, but I want to give the council a realistic
Is it worth
appraisal of.
investing the money in for
Well,
what we'd get back?
yeah, I guess I want to actually explore this fully with their legal department. But I'm anticipating that they're gonna come back with that depreciation argument because it is a fairly standard contract argument.
Right.
And they already did try to throw this subcontractor under the bus by saying, well, this is all the contractor's problem, talk to them. But I did argue that point, I think successfully with them already, that no, Johnson Controls was the general contractor. They were the ones that brought the subcontractor to the table, so Johnson Controls is still involved in this.
Do you think they're just gonna keep putting you off until we squeeze them, Sue?
Well,
I mean, is that the only way we're gonna come to a resolution on this?
yeah,
Or
and
the
we,
10 years come to an end.
yeah, and we, you know, we control that factor. If we sue them any time up until the end of the 10-year guarantee, I mean, we have the right to do that.
But not past the 10-year
No,
guarantee?
no.
Well, when does that 10-year guarantee run out?
In, is it, oh, no, is it March of 2018 or October of 2018?
My only concern is, they haven't really cared one way or the other, if we're honest, for all the time you've contacted them. And I'm not putting the fault on you by any means, Ross, whatsoever. I have no faith that they're gonna do anything
Yeah.
until we force them to, or attempt to force them to.
Yeah. Well,
Because they just keep blowing us off.
And even then, they
Right.
don't respond.
Yeah.
And
well, we didn't mention lawsuit until this last go around, and that's what got them to start trying to contact me again. So I guess I'm anticipating that I'll at least have a dialogue with them at this point, instead of
Right.
just silence.
But the longer that we wait, the less of the contract that's out there yet. And if we would have did this 2 years ago, let's say, that restitution would have been so much greater than it is at this point in the game.
Well,
Which,
yeah, except they were cooperating or communicating with us up until, I said 6 months, I think it was more like 8 months ago. You know, a dialogue was still going on until they, you know, started this silent treatment. But again, at the beginning of the contract and in the first few years, I want to say the first 4 or 5 years, they were very responsive. And again, you know, they had staff physically coming out here and meeting with us and looking at the problem and advocating for us with the subcontractor. And the subcontractor has expended a fair amount of money. You know, again, they're the ones that provided the faulty parts, but they have provided replacement parts, and they paid a fair amount of money to Nussmeier Electric over the years to install those replacement parts. Although that's something else that they have failed to do most recently. So it wasn't as, you know, they blew us off from day one.
No.
I'd say they've blown us off, you know, the last, good part of the last year, is when they stopped being responsive.
I thought you said that they were out of business, the subcontractor.
No, what I've been able to determine vaguely, you know, is that, you know, they held themselves out as being the manufacturer of these parts. I don't think they are. I think they're a supplier. I think they order the parts from some factory in China or Taiwan. And that was one of the reasons, I think, why we've always had a delay in getting the replacement parts. Among other things, I Googled their headquarters in California, and it's not a very big building, so.
Even if they gave us parts, the generators, the starters, whatever you want to call it, they're still not resolving our issue though,
No.
because they're faulty parts. So they're giving us faulty parts to pacify us to get us past 10 years.
Well, I think that's a tactic, yeah, that they're trying out, yeah. But again,
I don't know why we should allow them to do that.
yeah, well,
Right.
we can sue them at any time, but I
'Cause
guess
I
I'd
think,
like to see what we can get out of
Right.
them willingly.
I understand, yeah, because I think in 60 days from now, we're gonna be sitting in here having the same conversation.
absolutely.
No, I think it'll be clear, once I talk to their legal department, exactly what their position is. And in fact, I can pass that on, that, you know, the council's patience has ended, and unless we get some action real quick, we'll just start the suit.
Well, I mean, it's not only that, but they deceived us from the get-go on the beginning of this contract. They said these lights would work, and they don't. That's proven. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're owed some kind of compensation regardless.
Yes,
We got a faulty system.
yes.
Absolutely.
We got a faulty system for
It
the money
didn't-
spent.
Didn't do what they said it would, and they,
And we're looking at replacing the street lights as time goes on. If we can't get the parts, and the street lights burned out, we have to buy a new one. I know we had Kyle Reward in here, and it sounded like the lights they had, or his company had, were very, very efficient and made for the North Country.
So is it, and I guess you can't, I probably can't answer this in their past history. Is it reasonable to assume that they might get back to you within a month?
Well, in my most recent phone call, I said, we're playing telephone tag here, email me. And I haven't gotten an email back yet, but that was, when was that? Thursday of last week, I guess, is the last time I called them back.
I'm feeling that they're just playing us along until the very end, and then they, tough luck.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Where is their legal department located? Do
It's
you know?
also in Wisconsin.
It is in
Their
Wisconsin.
headquarters is still in Wisconsin, even though
Okay.
they started out small, but they're kind of a multinational conglomerate now.
Where in Wisconsin are they, do you know, Ross?
Yeah, I'm having a mental blank. I'm sorry.
Milwaukee.
That sounds right, yeah. I was gonna say Madison, but I knew that wasn't
Milwaukee,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Milwaukee, yeah.
I mean, if
Then
you get
you
it,
and I could go have a beer there and then,
And they'd even join us.
and then go
Not a
visit
cow.
Johnson Controls.
that's a long ways to go for a beer.
I've done more for less, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm sure I can get a direct communication with them before the next council meeting, one way or the other.
One way or the other.
And make it clear to them that, unless there's some offer on the table pretty quick, we'll just bring the lawsuit and see what the court does with it.
I'd be willing to table it for 2 weeks to give them that opportunity. I
please
don't know that
include
I'd
that.
wanna table it for 2 months.
For next
But
meeting, Johnson Controls update. Okay.
Right.
All right. Unless there's further questions on that, let's move on. Item 14, cemetery columbarium.
The cemetery committee met on Monday, June 26th to discuss the pricing for the niches on the columbarium that will be delivered on July 12th. The goal is to cover the cost of the purchase and the installation, as well as put some money aside for operating costs as well. So their recommendation is for the pricing in the yellow column that you see in front of you, with 67% of those funds going into the perpetual fund and the remainder going into the operating fund. The committee also recommends that the niche sales to begin on August 1st to allow proper marketing as well as a first come first serve sale process, because as you can see in the outlined prices, there is pricing laid out for some of the, I'm trying to think of the proper words to use it, but for more desirable real estate, I think is some of the terms we've been using at staff. So those that are within eyesight, would be priced higher on the front side versus along the back side and the bottom. So that information is before you. We would like to council action to approve or deny the pricing for the niches so that we can start our marketing efforts.
And explain, I can't figure out the yellow column and the plain column.
So the yellow is the pricing for each of the niches, and then to this side, there's 80 niches. So if you take that's just what the gross sales would be for that row once you sold them all out, and you'd come to a total cost of $51,000 would be raised with sales. Total cost associated with the installation and purchase is $33,840.
I'll make a motion to approve pricing for the niches in the columbarium.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Cowell, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to approve the pricing for the niches as proposed in your handout. Any more questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
And then just real quick about the plaque style, just wanted to show the council. The cemetery committee did agree that this plaque is the plaque that they all agreed upon. It obviously allows for the last name across the top, the left, or the two names, and then the full birth date and the full death date. So that comes at a cost of $400. It is in a size of 11 by 7. It is something that is ordered through staff and delivered here, and then our staff does adhere to the niche. There are also, so the date placards actually are ordered separately, and those are $40 a piece, and then obviously then there's shipping included on that for separate. There's also a separate memorial plaque, which would be adhered to the side portions of the columbarium, and that's just to honor a loved one that perhaps may have been buried elsewhere or ashes scattered elsewhere. So I wanted you to see that. There
Are the niches, are they allowed multiple urns?
a max of 2. And then as part of that plaque too, you'll see there's 2 vases on the side that allows for a very small bouquet.
What are on the side, Liza?
Those are vases.
Oh,
It's hard to tell in a picture how, for instance, how large the vase would be that would fit in each of those. And it's,
so it's 11,
Might be able to
11 by 7?
that's the overall size of the plaque, right? 11 by
see if
7?
I have a picture. She did send me a picture of what that looks like, because we had the same question. That's what it would look like.
And I believe any plaque that goes on a columbarium has to be purchased through them. Is that correct?
Correct, through the city, and then we purchase through them. But
But
yes, our
through the
agreement is that we can only
columbarium
order through
company.
them. And so here's a picture of it, there's the vase, and then it's hard to see in the picture, but the date placards are separate to give it more of a uniform. Obviously, ours would be full date, this is a different version, but very similar. So that's just simply
any
to,
action on that?
No action
No.
on that, no.
just wanted to show the council.
Okay, any questions on the columbarium? Moving on to item 15, approve or
I was
deny
gonna say
partial.
Something like people are just dying to get in there.
Item 15, approve or deny pay estimate number 2 to OMG Midwest Inc. for $199,218.91.
I don't know if there's an opportunity again for our city engineer who made the long trek here, maybe just to give a brief update on how the project is going, as well as answer any questions the council may have regarding the 2017 street and utility improvement project. But this payment does represent 17% of the total construction costs.
It does, and yeah, this is the second pay estimate. The first one was just kind of some of that first upfront work, some of the tree clearing and stuff. So we're making progress on Alden Street. Sewer and water is 100% installed, and the services, water services, are back up and running on Alden Street. They're currently installing storm sewer on that, and goals to get that completed yet this week. They've had a couple of rain days over the past number of weeks, so things are progressing. I think they'd like to be a little bit further ahead, but again, weather looks good up in front of them. We have removed the surface on the remaining portions of the project, and once they are done with Alden Street, they will be moving to Douglas, I believe, after this.
No.
And they are
Brooks, no,
17%
I'm Brooks.
complete?
Brooks, sorry, not
Oh.
Douglas. Yeah, that was completed already. So Brooks, doing some water first, followed by the sanitary sewer, And then, as you know, there's minimal utilities in 3rd Avenue, and then moving on to 4th Avenue past that. They say the street reconstruction crew will kind of follow the underground crew. Sounds like they're maybe slightly delayed, but I would expect reconstruction of Alden Street up to a gravel surface to happen shortly after the underground is completed there, which they have goals for the end of this week that may leak into next week. But by and large, it sounds like everything is going well. Correspondence with residents and everything out there has been good, so.
Yeah, no complaints at the city outside of the tree
Right.
stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Pat,
Do we have a motion on? Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask that you agree that that's 17% complete right now?
Yes.
Perfect.
They've everything that's on this pay estimate has 100% been completed, and yeah, it's about that, just shy of 20%.
Okay. Then I would like to make a motion to approve. I have to get back here. I don't know what happened here. To approve partial payment to OMG Midwest.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Batchor, second by Councilmember Hattlestead to approve the partial payment estimate number 2 to OMG Midwest in the amount of $199,218.91. Is there any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 16, approve or deny pay estimate number 1 to William Mueller and Sons.
Yeah, so this is the first pay estimate for the Circle Drive and street and utility improvements. Just an update on that. The utilities are fully installed, both the sewer and the water, and that's what constitutes payment within this estimate. They have brought in the gravel on Circle Drive. The area where they were constructing the underground utilities within Circle Drive is a little tender at this point, so I spoke with the contractor some today about that, and we're going to wait a few days, if not weeks, to kind of let the sun do some baking on that and allow some traffic to move on top of that to hopefully get that to settle down. Certainly don't want to pave over the top of it in the condition that it is here today, so we're going to continue to monitor that. And if there's any other repairs that are needed, I'll correspond with the city on that, if it's above and beyond what we're originally contracted for, but we're waiting and seeing right now on that. So pavement is out until we get that firmed up.
All right, I'd like to approve partial payment number 1 to WM Mueller and Sons Inc. for $62,894,000 let me rephrase that, $62,894.28.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I just have one question in regard to that. The water looping, was that involved getting over into that area, did it not?
No, the water looping is part of the contract with the 2017 project, and that.
Oh, that's right, it didn't go that far.
And that's over by the Dollar General area, so that work was also paid for under partial pay estimate number 1.
Okay.
They have not made those full connections yet, so it is not up and running. They've just simply done the directional drilling of that. Then the contractor will come in there and make those connections and get that water system up and running.
It will provide a greater quantity of water for the.
Most definitely.
For the
that
industrial
whole
park
area
area,
up there,
yeah.
yes. Yep, that was the reason why we wanted to do that looping. It's just under a separate project, yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion then to pay the estimate number 1 to William Mueller and Sons. Is there any questions, comments? The amount again, $62,894.28. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried.
I have a question about kind of the Circle Drive with the pilot
Transfer?
transfer facility there. They got some pretty big tanks in there. Has anybody talked about how they plan on filling those, or are they gonna do it overnight and drain the water tower, or?
No, I guess I don't know exactly what their protocol is, but it's nothing that we feel is going to be intrusive on the system.
Okay.
If it is, I think we certainly have some coordination with them, but yeah, again, those tanks, in relation to what like Semstone and stuff is doing with filling tanks, it's I don't know if it's anything quite that grandiose, but they do look substantial, but I don't foresee any issues. If there is, I think we'll certainly address it with them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Moving on to miscellaneous business, item 17, Maintenance Department. Maintenance Supervisor Whitworth. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay. Take you through what's been going on since I was in last.
Is it green? Is it green?
Oh, there we go. Okay. So one big item is the new maintenance worker, Trevor Lotsky, started last Monday, June 26th. So far, so good. He comes in every day with a good attitude and enthusiasm for the job, and seems to have a real caring attitude for the city, and he's eager to learn. He's been busy. We got plenty to catch up on. He's been spraying parks. He dressed up the north sign and the south sign, the city signs out of town. I thought he did a good job at that. The seal coat project, which was spoken about tonight, I'll be meeting with Miller's tomorrow to look at the hot patching. They're going to give me a bid for that. And Shard also, I was going to meet with one of their guys. Still waiting. We're playing a little phone tag there. He was going to come up and give a bid too. They're already in town doing the excavating. So we'll see what comes of that. And along with that, the curb, I got to get a bid for the curbs as well. I was talking to CMC preliminarily about that. Other than that, there's been a lot of chipping branches, sweeping streets after the windstorm we had a couple weeks ago. And that's Sunday night. Sprayed mosquitoes a couple times, and we also tried some pellets this year around our parks. And actually, we just applied that Monday. And Trevor has been in the parks in the mornings, and he said the one park we didn't get to yet had a lot of mosquitoes around it in the morning. The other ones, he didn't notice any. So hopefully the pellets that's a sign that they're working. The Frenzel slide, the tunnel slide that we needed to replace, the $4,500 slide that you guys approved. We were there last week. We tore down the old one, got all the new stuff out, got the directions out, and looking more closely at the directions, we realized we had the wrong directions. So, called up the company. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. I called them again today. It's been a week and a half since we spoke last, and I wasn't able to get through to who I needed to speak to today. I was told that they're going to call me back again. So, we're waiting on the correct instructions to replace that slide.
Do you feel you have the correct slide? I mean, does it look like it?
Well, the old posts have to be torn out, new posts have to be set.
Okay.
It's a different design.
Oh,
Otherwise, we could have just put it up and used the same old posts, because the posts were fine.
yeah.
But we'll have to dig it all up and start from scratch. So, let's see, we got the city signs that need to be replaced by ID Sign Solutions. Got that coming up. He bid for 50 stop signs, and then the new stop signs plus posts at the southwest side and the southeast side of the intersection of Alden and First Avenue North by the grocery store. Those have to be, one has to be put in, and another one has to be fixed because it got backed into. And also on Circle Drive, or Meadowlark, sorry, he's going to put in a speed limit sign out there. All in all, it should cost about $1,000. And other than that, I need to start looking at the budget, working with that. And that's kind of what's been going on.
Okay.
So, getting to, I just started today also with spraying the streets, the weeds. So, getting at that.
What do
too.
you use on that? That's the cracks in the curb. right?
Yep.
Is that,
We use, it's a knockoff of Roundup,
okay.
so.
So I mean, if you sneeze or something and the wand goes up into somebody's lawn, does it kill that off too?
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful, yep.
Okay. Okay, any questions for Mr. Reckworth?
On street signs, on Main Street, there are no signs designated Main Street, 4th Avenue, 3rd Avenue. And I know we talked about that. Where did we leave that?
We left, I think, the street identification signs as the last priority. Right now the goal is to replace all the stop signs due to the retroreflectivity inspections that were conducted. So it was agreed that the street name signs were.
Yeah, I think Main Street would be really up towards the top of the priority, just so you could send somebody down Main Street that's not familiar, go down to 3rd Street and turn left and, there's no signs, so they don't know they're going up from the railroad tracks or on backwards from Highway 5, so. just
Maybe
not-
if we could arrive at a sign design and then just do Main Street, get Main Street done, knowing that when we do the rest of them, that'll be that same design.
Okay.
Because they're all in need
With
of
this
that.
project, you mean?
No, well, sooner rather than later, I think is
Right.
what you're saying.
Okay.
Deal with Main Street separately, so, some of the other street signs are there, and in the daylight you can read them, but boy, at night it's terrible.
There's nothing on Main Street from the railroad tracks.
There's,
to Highway
there's
Yeah,
absolutely no
that
signs.
doesn't, that doesn't make a lot of
Highway
sense,
5.
no.
In Main Street, I don't think there's a street sign saying Main Street.
I'm gonna guess they got taken down with
Yeah,
the,
they were on the,
Overhead.
lights.
oh, really? Oh, okay.
Big sign.
Hmm.
I mean, I get lost sometimes trying to find Main Street.
Yeah, but the sign go out back?
On your way to the park.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Reckworth? Michelle, any questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Thanks, Kirby.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Kirby.
Council committee updates. Anything?
I have one.
Okay.
The Parks Committee met June 26th at 6, and under new business, they were informed the tree, in fact, Mayor, you made the report on the tree planting event
Oh, yes.
with
Um,
Karen,
Don't ask me for the date, though.
September 30th.
September
go.
30th, yes. We were given 2 dates, and by the time we got to the meeting, one was already taken. So if we were gonna have a date, we took it, and that was September 30th. Moving on, old business, we recognize that the RSMC, Ridgeview Sibley Medical Center, gave us money for the gazebo. And then we were asking for 2 bids for the ceiling, bare rafters versus covered rafters. And the bare rafters were thought of being attractive to birds, and we maybe thought that the covered ones would end up being better, but they wanted to have prices first. Under the Park Service lighting estimate, I have 2475, 2,475, but I don't remember. Can either of you help me?
That was for some electrical work in the Memorial Park. I don't know, does it all have something to do with bringing electricity to the new gazebo, or is there some actual corrections they have to make?
I think they did have to, make some improvements to the panel, and it's to bring power to the
And
gazebo.
then bring power to the gazebo.
Yeah.
Well, that estimate was 2475. And then they needed to write thank yous to various, the Lions veterans, because they were getting a pitching mound for the little kids, major and minor, the teams that'll be playing out there. A portable
Nice.
one, and then to George View Sibley. And it was a quick, short, half-hour meeting.
Okay, anything else?
Cable Commission,
Cable Commission.
they are in the process of possibly signing a 10-year agreement with Mediacom for those two channels, because they haven't had a contract with Mediacom for probably a year and a half. Lawyers got involved, everything else. So that's close to done. They discussed raising the annual grants to the schools, and a lot of schools get, I think, up to 6,000 right now. The libraries at 2,000 a year, and I think those numbers are going to go up. Not permanently, maybe temporarily because of the money in the checkbook. You'd asked about an annual financial report. Mark Erickson is the new Secretary Treasurer. He's been changing the banking, doing a lot of online stuff. That should be available very soon, and I will personally let you know when it is.
Don't they have to file an annual report
Okay.
every year?
I asked about that, and I said, who does the audit for this?
Yeah,
We haven't been audited for years, and I said, Mark, aren't you concerned as the treasurer? I said, I would be very uncomfortable if there wasn't an audit done of those funds annually, being the treasurer.
sure.
And they're in the because no, they haven't even been audited.
Wow.
I mean, they don't even have an audited on it. And there's some, I call serious money in the checkbook.
Yeah. So it's sort of a de facto organization
Yeah, you
that
got
doesn't
it.
report to any.
They don't really have to
Yeah.
report to anybody.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of do as they please, but he's in the process of getting that all done. The other Secretary Treasurer was, let's say, a little lax on that,
Okay.
and Mark took over about the time I got on there, and he's been pushing the ball pretty hard, but he's had so much to go through that it's taken some time, but that should be all addressed. And I know with the issues in here, that they've checked as far as our audio. I don't know if we're still having a problem or not. Liza said she
I've
has.
gotten some complaints.
Okay, you did?
Yep,
Well,
can't hardly hear it again.
one meeting, a couple of meetings ago, I brought it up again, and I said, this has gotta get resolved. And they've had probably 3-4 companies go to Gibbon in the school, because that's where the servers and everything are at. They've went through everything, they're trying to find a problem. I said, well, maybe you need to come to Arlington. And their suggestion was, of course, that Arlington have somebody come and check out the equipment. And of course, that would be at Arlington's cost.
Sure.
So Mark said, no, I will get to the bottom of this if I have to hire people to come here. So he told, and I don't know when this is going to happen. I don't think it's gonna get dragged out with Mark in charge like the other ones. In fact, when we have a meeting this month, I'm going to ask where we're at on that.
Yeah, because the comment I got was they watch a number of them on TV, and the others are all fine, except Arlington's, they gotta crank it all the way up
And
again.
the other part of that is, see, ours is broadcast on Mediacom, I think it's channel 7 and 8 or whatever it is. Everybody else is on RS Fiber, and there's no problem on RS Fiber.
Okay.
It's here. So Mark's thinking it's the equipment in there. But Wade never wanted to do anything about it. And of course, he always said, I'm gonna have somebody come, and he always had 100 excuses why. Mark said, I promise you it will be addressed, we will be over there.
Okay.
So, I believe him. I guess in 3 weeks I'll ask again if nobody's been here. And I think you could let me know probably, because you know if they show up to service it. But that's where we're at on that.
Okay.
Police committee, nothing new. I think every council's aware everything that's went on with the pay increases, I believe.
Yep, we voted on it on the 26th.
Is there any applicants yet for police chief? Okay, good. All right, any other council committee updates?
Jason Felwright gave my council update on the street project, so he did a good job.
Oh.
Got out of that one pretty, didn't you?
I trained him well.
Anything else? Okay, let's move into open discussion. Anything under that? I do have one item. You didn't think we were gonna let you get away without? I would at this time like Administrator Donabauer to rise and receive this certificate of appreciation. It reads, awarded July 5th, 2017, Liza Donabauer in recognition of leadership services as City Administrator, 2013-2017, City of Arlington, Minnesota, and it is signed by all the council members. And to go along with that, a little token of our appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been obviously a pleasure working here with you all. You know, I love you all.
Thank you, Liza. We're gonna miss you.
I know I'm gonna miss you too.
Thank you, Liza.
Thanks, Councilmember Batcher.
You can come back at Arlington and see us then.
Yeah.
All right. See us in a couple 5Ks.
We can find a job for you.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
that motion. Second it.
Motion
One
by
of us-
motion by Councilmember Hattlestead, second by Councilmember Batchor to adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed no. Meeting adjourned at 8:51.